Welcome back to the Tommy Retro YouTube channel. Today we've got a project. We're going to be working on a 1996 Chevy G30 van, and what's going on with it is the bearing in the AC clutch is failing, so it's making a metal on metal grinding sound when the engine runs. So what we're going to do is we are going to remove the outer clutch assembly, remove the AC pulley, and replace the bearing. Alright, this is the tool that we'll be using. It's offered at AutoZone. It was $107. AutoZone's got a really nice program where you can rent your tools for free. Basically, you purchase them, and if you like them, you can keep them. Otherwise, you bring them back, they give you your money back. So no rental fee at all, but they do charge you for it initially, and then refund you your money when you bring it back. But really nice tool. I've got some issues with condition. Some of these pieces and parts are pretty stripped, pretty bad. I pointed it out to the man at the counter when I picked it up, and he said, don't worry about it, we're not going to charge you for it. But I did tell him that he really should get this replaced, because if people need that, they're gonna be upset. So anyways, tool is really nice. Again, $107 over at the AutoZone. Otherwise, you can rent it for free. But it is the 27150 model. OEM tools for professionals, and a really nice set. So good value for the money, but definitely check it over before you take it home, because some of the stuff's really well used. As you can see, I'm glad I didn't have to use this one. This one's totally roached. We've got the outer cover of the AC clutch removed. As you can see, the tool, this thread's in there. Okay, so it's got fine threads on the outside, threads into the outer plate on the AC clutch. I cleaned the threads real good with a wire brush prior to inserting the tool, and then when I ran it in there, I ran it in kind of like you would a tap. I turned it a quarter turn, backed off, a quarter turn, backed off, a quarter turn, backed off, and then got it seated down good in there. Then I was able to hold this with a 1-inch wrench, and then turn this in with a 3/4 inch wrench, and it just pulled it right off. So tool worked great. Now I'm working on the actual bearing assembly. You can see I've got the 2-jaw puller on there. I don't know if you could see that. Let's see if I can get a little better view here. You can see I've got the 2-jaw puller on there. I center punched the shaft so that the point on the puller would ride in there, and then I just started backing it off. It just broke loose, so I'm going to finish taking this off all the way, and then we'll be able to examine the bearing and replace it. Pulley is removed. 2-jaw puller, pulled it off, no problem. So now we've got to get the bearing out of the pulley assembly. I'm soaking it with PB Blaster right now. It's sitting around the outside of the bearing, in between the pulley and the bearing outer sleeve there. So we'll let that PB go to work, and then we'll press this out. I tried using a socket, and just tapping it, seeing if it would start coming easy, but it's not. It's going to be tough the whole way. So we'll take this in, use the press, and we'll press that bearing out of there, and then press the new one in while we're there as well. We have pressed the new bearing in, so let me kind of tell you how this went. So when we left off before, we took the clutch assembly off. I did try to just use a large impact socket and a ball peen hammer and tap it out. No way it was going to happen. what I did notice is on the inside, if you can see this, on the inside where the bearing presses into the pulley, there was some type of machine stamping that occurred that actually made grooves in the surface that the bearing sits in, and then actually retain the bearing. So I had to use a Dremel with a cutoff tool, and I had to go around the outside of this whole thing. If you kind of see that around the whole outside, you can see my marks. But I had to go around the outside of the whole thing and grind off all those little tabs, and then I was able to put it in a press and press out the old bearing, and then press in the new bearing. So the new bearing is pressed in. Now we're going to reverse the process and install the AC clutch pulley. Now we're installing the pulley onto the AC compressor. So according to the manual in our kit, we have to use part G and part D as an installer tool. So I've got those already out and on the van here. So as you can see, I've got the installer tool screwed on there. I had to find a large washer so that the bearing would ride up against the inner race on the new bearing. And so I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up, get that on all the way, and then I will use another tool to install the outer portion of the clutch. So now I'm going to turn that in. I'm going to hold the chrome part with a 3/4 inch wrench, and then turn in the portion that's pushing on that bearing plate with a 1 inch, and I'll seat it on there. Alright, I used the washer arrangement and got it to where the inner race on the new bearing is flush with the sleeve on the compressor there, the shaft on the compressor. But I've got to push it back another 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch to expose the snap ring groove. And to do that, I just sort of had to look around in my toolbox to find this this wrench here. So it's a specialty wrench, got a lot of square drive stuff on it, but it had a hole right in the middle, and it spans the whole pulley to be able to push it on. So I'm going to take it. The rest of the way with this, and get it to where I can put that snap ring on. I just wanted to show you, you know, when you do these kind of, you know, automotive projects in the garage, older vehicles, things like that, you know, you can't count on everything going seamless. So I just want to show you this. So tool worked great up to a point. Putting the pulley on, I used that washer, got it flush, pulled it off. I used this funky wrench and started to draw it up, and all of a sudden it popped. The whole shaft pulled right off of the stud that comes out of the AC compressor, and I checked the threads on the AC compressor and it was totally fine, nothing stripped on there. So the tool itself is has weak threads, and so it was just pulling right out. So what I did, just to see if I could get get by, kind of test the waters a little bit here, is I took a zip tie. And I curled the end, laid it right next to the threaded rod, and tightened the tool on, and I was actually able to get it on past the retainer clip section. So I'll be able to set this. I mean, I barely got on there. I figure, hey, I got a shot, otherwise I'm back to the parts store, which definitely this set, now that I've been using it, looks like it's well used, and probably some people were using it on things that you know, the threads were pretty bad. Some of the stuff's pretty stripped out. So the nylon trick worked as long as I can get it off of there, but just want to show you this. It just goes to show you, when you do these projects, things don't always go seamlessly, and you got to improvise with what you have laying around the garage. It took some doing, but the pulley's on, the snap ring is on, the outer clutch plate is on, and big thing with that is make sure you get your keyway lined up before you start putting it on. Otherwise, you have to take it back off and start over again, which I had to do. So you want to push that on there with the tool. Again, my tool wasn't working very well, so I got lucky. I was able to finish the job here, but you want to have 30 thousandths about between the clutch plate and the pulley. So use your feeler gauge and do that. But what I'm going to do now is put the serpentine belt back on, and I can reassemble everything. Just so you see what I had to take off to get in here, I had to take off the upper radiator shroud here. So you see that on the ground there. So that had to come out. I was able to finagle it out of there with the AC lines intact. So I was able to just kind of hold this stuff out of the way and slide it out. You got to be real careful, because otherwise it's real easy to break the plastic. So really that's all I had to get out. I took that out of there. Of course I had to remove the washer box, which normally sits right here. The let's see, the washer box, the air intake for the carburetor, so I had to take that off, the hose and the air cleaner back there, so I had to get that out of the way. So really the order was the washer box. I had to take a couple bolts out of the bracket for the washer box, the intake for the air cleaner, remove that, as well as the upper radiator shroud. So once you get that off, then you've got enough room here to get in and service the AC clutch. So I'm going to go ahead and reassemble all that, and this completes the bearing replacement on the air conditioning compressor in a 1996 G30 Chevy van.